Who's Scruffy-Looking?
Hello there, all you Tognaths and Tauntauns, and welcome to the Scruffy-Looking podcast, the show where we talk about all things related to that galaxy far, far away. My name's Dakota Hayden, and alongside with me is my co-host and dad, Mark Hayden Jr.
Hello.
How you doing, Dad?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. It's been a while. We've
Yes.
just been busy, but we've been finally able to chalk down some time to sit down and talk more about Star Wars, because I know you've been itching to do it too, but we got the rest of Andor to cover from the last episode. So I guess starting things off and kicking things off, let's get right into it. As a whole, now that we see the big full picture, I know in the first half we were like, there's things we would like to see, there's things we weren't necessarily too sure about being halfway in. Mm-hmm. So now that we have the full picture as a whole, what do you think?
The second half, they jumped to light speed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's some of the best Star Wars ever. I mean, they're just really, really good.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Yeah, they're just awesome.
Yeah.
I just, I grew up with Luke, Han, and Leia and all them. Those characters were a big part of my life. I almost feel like I know some of the characters in Andor more, you know what I mean? They got developed so well. I almost felt a closer attachment to some of them than I did, the legacy characters that I've loved all my life.
It's been really great, the character development and everything, and I think they lived up to what they were saying before it released on how you would see Rogue One in a whole different light. I think they made that blend from Andor Season 1 to Rogue One, they fit that gap perfectly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
for sure.
My wife and I, we watched, as soon as we finished Andor, or Season 2, I think the next day jumped into Rogue One. I was like, oh my gosh, like it fits. Like so good, and just adds all that more oomph to it. And especially since you know what happens to most of the characters anyway into Rogue One. There's still some loose ends that I'm curious if we'll ever hear from them again. But, before we get any further into the episode, spoilers if anyone hasn't watched Andor Season 2, whether you're him-hawing around about it, I'd say it's a good watch. We can vouch for it, absolutely. Yeah. For those of you that aren't too into like the slower storytelling, it definitely picks up in the second half. And I'd say give it a watch, but spoiler warning from here on out. So.
Do you suppose Clea and Vel, if they're still on Tatooine during the events of A New Hope, after everything they did, do you wonder when Luke and Han come back from blowing up the Death Star and they're having a celebration, they're like, who are these two ham and eggers that just came along in the last few days and they get this big ceremony? It kind of...
I'd never really thought about that, but you got to think.
Are they in the background like, what? Wait a minute here. What's this?
I didn't even think about that. It's kind of like we've been in the trenches here, and these guys just pop out of nowhere.
It's all this. You think about all that stuff going on there in the final episodes of Andor, and during that time, Luke's cleaning moisture evaporators back on Tatooine, and then a few days later, he's part of the story. And it's just fun.
That is funny. So I wonder what I feel like how their characters are. They easily can blend into the background from here on out. Do you think that's probably what they'll do with like Clea and Vel and characters like that, to where they're just kind of like, that was their part of the story. Now they're kind of like working in like intelligence or something like that.
I think maybe they get mentioned in maybe novels or something like that. I'd be all right seeing like if they had a role in the New Republic or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're like, enough's enough. I've had enough of all this. I'm just spending the rest of my life out of it. But I guess they could. I think I mentioned to you, what if Dedra, they in the New Republic, they have that rehab program for former Imperials. Could she pop up again 10 years later in the Mandalorian universe, as somebody that's been rehabbed? I think the only problem with some of that is how, I'm not trying to take digs at other directors and stuff like that, but how well those characters were written and the dialogue and everything in Andor, if they were being filmed and directed by somebody else that's more into the more kind of traditional fun adventure,
Yeah.
would they seem like a different character?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to, you'd have to almost kind of consult with Gilroy on, okay, how would you write this part of this for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them, how well they, and not saying it they would, but how well they were written and stuff. I'd hate to see them appear in something else. And, well, this one, if you're a sequel fan, I wouldn't want those characters to be handled like Luke, Han, and Leia were in the sequel trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, and then you know what I'm saying?
The theme. It's funny. Star Wars has, depending on what kind of whether you're watching the movies or the shows, the kind of like tone is different. And I agree completely with you. The characters and how they were developed in Andor was more, I'd say, I'd go as far as to say more like adult tone, serious tone orientated. So to take that character development and moving it to, as you said, like the sequels, or even like kind of like even main trilogy storytelling-esque. You know what I mean? It was a different tonal shift that worked really well.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful using those kind of characters.
Yeah.
Because we know them in the context of Andor and how serious and that storytelling
I would want them to be respected.
Yes.
And again, here I go sequel bashing. How I feel like the original trilogy characters weren't respected.
Yes.
In the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
I wouldn't want the same thing to happen for, and how Star Wars always has resurrections and stuff. We don't need 20 years later that somehow Luthen's returned. As much as I love the character,
Luthen was awesome, but
as much as I love him and stuff like that, you couldn't ended that any better.
Yeah,
right?
If that were to happen, that would have just completely killed that moment.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. That was really.
Now, if you want to bring back Lonnie with cybernetic,
something. So bad for Lonnie.
Yeah,
the poor guy.
Well, he's the almost the hero of it all, because if it wasn't for him, being in the ISB and taking those chances and stuff like that,
never would have known about the Death Star.
Would never got out there until maybe it was too late. So.
Oh, poor Lonnie. And it was funny because when they met in that scene, I'm like, he's not making it out.
Well, then I was kind of thinking that, and I was like, well, it's right out in the open and all that. And then when they cut back to him sitting, I was like, oh, he's not with us anymore. But it's as it was going along, and in your mind, you think of like all these ends, how you want people to meet their ends and stuff like that. You come up with all these ideas. Mm-hmm. And all the stuff I came up with in my head that I thought was pretty cool, that far surpassed anything that I can. And I loved it because I was like, I would have never guessed. I would have never, and I just, it was great.
It was really great, and just the emotion behind it, the story, like it.
And I like how they made the Empire scary again. It reminded me of when I was a kid seeing the original movies for the first time in the theaters, how you were scared, there's a fear.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought that was good.
And I, in like Rebels and stuff, the stormtroopers kind of like buffoons and stuff. I get it. It's for but there's the kid element there and stuff. You got to watch. Not that there wasn't scary moments.
Oh, for sure,
and intense moments in that, but I get it was good to see him. Kind of a good reminder of why you hated him when you first got into it.
Why there was a resistance, rebellion, these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was totally cool to see just the propaganda and like that part of the war machine as they were tearing into Gorman and stuff, and just how like if you weren't in the know, you weren't knowing what is actually happening.
Yeah, it kind of did very well what I think was Lucas's intent with the prequel trilogy, trying to show some of that, political stuff and all that, and it didn't quite hit the mark. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it didn't quite. I mean, you go back, you want the fun, the like adventure, pew pew parts of those movies, but then you start thinking how well Andor was. You start thinking of bits and pieces of some of the other shows. It's like, boy, I wish this part of this would have been written. Imagine if Gilroy would have done the love, thing with Padme and Anakin, and how well written how much it would have. When Anakin fell, it still got to you, but if there was a little more, the writing was a little bit better. You know what I mean? Where it gave it just a little bit of
an oomph to enhance the tragedy a lot more. No, I totally get that.
Yeah, and then I think if Gilroy would have had a hand in the sequel trilogy, and when it did come time, if the legacy characters had to go, I just think about, boy, how epic would he have had Luke's ending. Now, the visual of Luke's death in The Last Jedi, I love that.
Yeah,
I do. How he got to that point, I don't like it at all. But the visual of him sitting and that, that's what I didn't like the story, but I did like the end of it,
and how it was pictured and everything like that. It looked great. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. So keep that element, but get us a better story to get there.
Get to that point.
I agree with you. Even still, I know we're off subject to the sequels, but I think they need more oomph storytelling to get us to that point to where we see what happens in the sequel just makes sense. And it'd be nice to see writers like Tony Gilroy that have a respect for the Star Wars product and that give it just really good detailed storytelling.
Well, he's not even really a fan of the franchise. When it came to little things like in Luthen's shop and all that, people suggested things to him and stuff. So going forward, get some good writers, and then it can be the pew pew shoot 'em up stuff.
Absolutely.
But get some good writers for the writing, and then have the people that know the lore more and all that can
help you fill
input and stuff like that. Speaking of his shop, I mean, just some of the cool Easter eggs, the Gungan skull.
That was cool.
Plo Koon. I don't know if it was actually Plo Koon's or another.
Probably just one of his species
and stuff. But it was neat seeing the Mortis gods.
Yeah, the mural.
Yeah, the mural and all that stuff. Yeah, that was really cool.
It was always fun every time they would do a scene of Luthen's shop. I was trying to pick out every little thing.
Especially when I do my rewatch, I'd always be like, "Oh, what we got here?" And so
it's super fun.
That was really cool.
And the Nautolan bleeder that he used during that scene when he gutted himself. Was a fun nod. I ended up reading later on. The writers put that in there because their son's favorite character was Kit Fisto. And so Nautolan's the species of Kit Fisto, and so that was kind of like a little nod out to his son. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big I honestly wasn't expecting it at the end. And I guess we got to talk about our thoughts about that, but what do you think about Cassian's kid?
Yeah, I mean, do they do something with him in the future, or is that just kind of that? I mean, I don't know. It seems like you put it in there with the intent that someday you might do something with that, but
maybe. But how much more does that add to that tragedy?
I wasn't even expecting that at all. I wasn't expecting that at all. Yeah, when she's walking and I'm like, she's carrying something, it's like, Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
And then then it makes sense when you watch. It's like, Vel, like, I wouldn't wait to reach out to, is telling Cassian, I wouldn't wait too long and all that stuff because she knew,
Yeah.
and stuff. So
like, man.
Yeah, then it's like you kind of want a scene where she finds out, and then where B2 finds out. I mean, how crushed is he going to be?
Oh, absolutely.
To find out so.
Absolutely.
And maybe they do something with that character. Someday Andor's kid with B2 on some adventures or something like that might be.
That's good.
Even if you did it in animated form or something like that, might be kind of a fun little.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Don't have to. I mean, I think that was well enough that like you can leave it and you can just kind of play for your imagination.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do something with the characters, I could see that, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have those things to where it's like you can leave well enough alone, but you could play with it if you wanted to.
This is where I've mentioned before. I wish there was a live action Star Wars thing that was kind of like the Tales of animated stuff, where it's just 1 or 2 episode dealing with a certain character or theme or something like that, and you could go back and revisit some of these things, even just for an episode.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, I still would like to see him do that. I don't know if they ever will, but you could have. I mean, any of the characters you could just touch on them.
Just to elaborate the story.
You could have a 1 episode thing with Jar Jar or something on it. Just anybody. Anybody. Just some of the characters we didn't really get a lot of. Just kind of give them some more depth. And
There's plenty of story to tell in something like that, and to even fill gaps. I mean, I mentioned before, I think a couple episodes ago, how did Grogu end up on Arvala 7? Yeah. So, like, just little things like that, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It just there's a big pool to pull from. We have a huge galaxy. There's a big pool to pull from.
Yeah. Well.
Let's see.
Well, So we agree. We loved it.
Yes.
It was awesome.
It was great.
Well, let's spin it a little bit.
Okay.
What was your biggest disappointment about it? Is there anything that didn't hit its mark for you, or you wish would have happened, or?
I wish it was. I think my biggest gripe with it, because how it ended was great to me. I wish it was longer.
Yeah, I wish they would have done 3 seasons.
Yes,
and I would have liked to seen more of some of the rebel attacks on stuff, and I would have liked to seen a little more Saw Gerrera.
Yes.
So I was kind of disappointed when you get a little bit more of that, and for just doing 2 seasons, they did good, but it would have been neat to see a little more of some of that guerrilla warfare, the rebels.
Yeah, and just how chaotic and spread out it was before they finally got united to be able to actually put the fight to the end.
And one other thing I was disappointed by, because I loved the thing, is we didn't get any more of Luthen's ship other than it sitting there in the back. I love that ship, and I was really looking forward to seeing it in some action maybe in this season, and then all we got was there. It was, and I guess I didn't realize it was like the landing pad for it was in the back of his.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Because they show him going in it. Yeah, they see it in the background. They show the Imperial text going on stuff. I was like, I didn't realize that he actually had like a landing.
Yeah. So that
cool I guess kind of makes sense if he's bringing in antiques and stuff like that. You would want your landing
for sure
thing close by, I guess. But I was really that Fondor Hallcraft. I was really hoping to see more of that.
That was a cool craft.
Yeah.
We never saw more of Kino.
I was trying to think where you could have put him. I don't know where you could have put him at. Unless at the end when they showing like the characters' fates when Dedra was in the prison there, if you would have heard him say on program or something like that. Yeah. So
and I was fine with that. Just
But he did such a good job. Yeah, it's like you would like to see a little bit more of it. But see there again, there's another. Go back to that little stories, 1 episode stories. You could do a Kino.
Oh yeah.
One. What happened? What happened to him?
Where'd he get? Where'd he get? Yeah. Another gripe I had, I don't even remember if we touched on it in the last episode, but looking at it as a whole, I didn't like, again, thinking back on it, how quickly they killed off Brasso in the first half.
Yeah.
Like, being such a big character he was. I mean, that kind of adds to the realism of it. I get that,
yeah,
but it would have been nice to see more than one episode.
I think that goes back to where they cut it back to 2 seasons. They had to be like, okay, we got so much time where some of the stuff's going to have to bang, bang, bang happen pretty quick. So
yeah.
But by the same token, I liked it because it's like, okay, at every episode's like, who's not safe this episode?
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I even, there when the Gorman massacre, I even wondered if that's how Dedra's going to get taken out, was Cassian sniping her. You know, I was like, okay, the way things are going here, this could happen.
Yeah,
the writing just goes back to how good the writing was. You just didn't know what was going to happen,
and the tension of everything that was building up during that riot was like, it was real palpable, and it was like on the edge of your seat, just like, what's going to go off first, and then to find out that the Empire started it pretty much. So it was like. No, that was good. Did you have any other gripes looking back? We never got a resolvement for why Cassian stole that tie.
Yeah, and I thought we might, because some of the stuff they kind of, even a few episodes or some things in the second season kind of went back to the first season, and just passing dialogue or whatever. It's like, okay. I was kind of waiting. It would have been even kind of neat just seeing it sitting on Yavin or something like that.
Like
in the
they were tearing it apart or something like that. Yeah. So,
what did you think of Yavin? I mean, we see the hangar and everything, and A New Hope, and then we see a little more of it in Rogue One. What do you think about like the little camps and all that stuff? I guess I never imagined that. You know, when I tried to picture the Rebel base there in my head or stuff, what it looked like. I guess I didn't. I mean, I was cool with it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I was like, okay,
What it kind of pictured to me was like, almost like looking back into like World War II, where they'd set up encampments in enemy territory, where they kind of have like just these camps and all these kind of tents and everything, spreading out their arms and everything like that. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. I was cool with that, and they just building it up over time.
Yeah.
I liked their like cottages that they had out there in like the more wooded areas. I wouldn't have thought for those, but that was cool.
Yeah. Just thinking of little thing just that made it so good when they cut to, what episode was it, where they kind of panned through the hangar there at Yavin, excuse me, and they showed them like working on the X-Wings and stuff. I don't know why, just that little moment there like really got to me and kind of like brought me back to a kid watching A New Hope for the first time in the theaters and seeing the Rebel base and all that stuff. I just really liked like little things like that. Just really struck a chord with me. It's like, wow, this is where this all happened. The first movie, that kind of got my childhood imagination going with all these ships and stuff. Just seeing just the music and everything and just all that. It just really,
the detail shots were really good.
Yeah, just really kind of tugged at my nostalgia strings and stuff like that. And when I was rewatching it again and that part came on again, I was like, man, I just love that.
It's so good. It's so good. I liked, of course, I didn't read the comics. And I know you did. I like that they kind of retconned how Cass and K2SO met.
I do too. Yeah,
I wasn't
so good. No disrespect to the people that wrote that story or whatever. It just didn't do it for me. And I like this this a lot better. So.
Yeah, I thought that was good. And that kind of...
They should have gave him a red arm.
They should have gave him a red arm just to throw it in there. It kind of adds a little bit, of course, between the time where he gets fixed up and then the next time we see them together. There's been a year in between, but you got to wonder, like, with Cassian hanging around, it's just like, this droid was chasing me and, like, gonna kill me before. Yeah. You ever wonder if that was kind of in the back of his mind and why he never let him have a blaster? Like, just in Rogue One, when he's like, you never give me a blaster. It's like, I bet I know why.
Yeah, and that's another character, I think, if we would have had just at least one more season, maybe we would have got a little bit more of them. But I think I remember reading a thing with Gilroy saying bringing him in was kind of a challenge because he does have that. Everything is so serious, and he does have a little bit of that comedic to him. Even when he's being serious, it's funny sometimes.
Yeah.
And I could see how that would, okay, I'm trying to set this tone, but then how do I have him stay true to the character and not make it too overly?
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job with it. So.
Yeah, as soon as they started interacting with him and he was talking and all the interactions, I was like, I wish I could get more. I forgot how much I love K2SO. It was good. It was so good.
One of the best new characters they've made since Disney's had it for sure. So
I really enjoyed his character.
Well, then you stop and think. At one point, K2SO and Chopper were on Yavin together. Two of the most murderous killing machines in the galaxy were together. And see, there's another little tail one episode thing we need. We need Chopper and K2SO out on a mission together.
That'd be mass
droids of death or something like that.
That'd be a weapon for sure.
And the interaction would be hilarious.
Oh yeah. That would
even if if you had some kind of, they had that one mission in Clone Wars where it was that little general frog looking and they had the droid. Yeah. You imagine K2SO, Chopper, and R2 and 3PO out. Just a one episode, 45-minute long show where they have to go out and do something, and just the interaction between all of them would be
the dynamics
would be hilarious.
It would be just because you got all the different variables that would have been.
And when Chopper and K2 were ripping on 3PO, R2 would be chirping and
I'm with I like these guys. That'd be good. What else? I guess we should. We talked about how we liked how Luthen met his end, and just the build up to that, and how that was nothing that we would have expected it to go, and just that whole lead up to Clay infiltrating the hospital and everything, which was weird seeing a Star Wars based hospital to me, but cool. I love how in these shows they touch on things that you wouldn't think to see in Star Wars, but should absolutely be in that universe. And that was cool to see, and how just watching how the Empire was scrambling to be what happened? How did this happen? And be like, one person did this.
The whole thing with Luthen, it just happened so quick.
Yeah.
It's like, all of a sudden she shows up at his shop. I'm like, oh, this is going to get real fast here. It's like, I'm not ready for this. And, and then, that whole scene there with
the dialogue and everything.
And then there's two pieces in here questionable. Just everything about it was just. Yeah,
there's the mind, just the intellectual battle that was going on there, and then when you could tell he got kind of like the last laugh before he jabbed himself.
And then I was like, all right, what's in her case? And then when she pulls out the thing from the first scene, I was like, wow, that's just awesome.
It's like poetry; it rhymes. It all comes back together. That was good. What'd you think of? I'd like to know more of his backstory, because we got those flashback scenes of when I think he served in the Imperial Army, right? That's what he was doing there. Just to kind of see more about that, because he seemed to be at least a semi-high ranking officer. I think he was called a sergeant. So I would have liked to, in the battle that he was on, would have liked to know more about that. But it was cool seeing the first place that he actually committed an attack, you could say, was on Naboo.
Palpatine's homeworld.
That was cool to see Naboo again.
Yeah, that was neat to see Naboo.
Yeah.
Thankfully, when the stuff on the bridge was blowing up, you didn't hear somebody go, "Oh no!" What kind of stuff?
This is so bad.
And the girl that played the younger Clea did a great job.
Yeah, I thought she did good. Yeah.
I feel like they've been doing good with their young, like the girl who played the young Leia did a good job in Kenobi and stuff. They've been doing good finding some of the younger characters in these shows and then Skeleton Crew and stuff. They've done really good. So.
I agree. Yeah, no, they absolutely have. That's been cool. So all the ones who survived, we've covered. We talked about Bix and Cass's baby, B2, Daedra, and Willman survives. So I wonder where he'll fit in. If he'll just kind of be lumped into like with Vel and Clea and stuff like that. Just like the background characters doing their own thing.
Because he's got his gal now and everything. Are they just going to be just like
Yeah. I think those are all the ones. Boy, during that riot when Cyril just got that story right there and how he met his end was like, I was kind of shocked it was so sudden, but I was like, that was great.
That was great. You're just because you're like, what's going to happen here? Because he's got the drop on Cassie, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa! It's like okay, So and what a great job. He did too. I mean, just all of them was all around great acting.
It has been
and stuff. So
that final scene before you're shot, and when Cassian's like, "Who even are you?"
Yeah, I know. I love that. It's like here, Cyril's been so obsessed with finding him all these years, and he's like, "I don't even know who the heck you are." I mean, that was perfect to me. I was like, it just showed here he's obsessed by him, and he doesn't even
know he exists.
I wonder what happened to Cyril's friend in that force of that, like.
Because he didn't. Yeah, he was.
We never saw him again.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that.
And even how annoying Cyril's mom was. You felt bad when she was watching because you knew she was realizing that my son's gone. And you even felt bad for her. It's like, but
it was cool to see in the episodes where we got to see more of Saw Gerrera and just his development.
You don't know where I am.
Exactly, to get him into the point to where he is when we meet him in Rogue One and stuff, and just how he's gone. He doesn't trust anybody. The only people he can trust is his own people right there, and that's it.
We never got to see how he got injured, though, and lost his foot.
No. I think people have been speculating it's just because of the hard... I don't even know if I think it's just gas. I think he's just inhaling gas fumes.
The Rhydonium.
The Rhydonium.
Maybe is that a side effect of that? Is you start eating away at your body or whatever?
It could be. Well, didn't he say it kind of like burns you up from the inside? I don't know. Which I was like... I get it, because like me personally, when I go to the gas station, I like the smell of gas, but I'm not going to go breathe it in a mask. Might have led a little bit to him going a little crazy.
That was just kind of a different scene, I guess, and just how I was, because when he was coming up with, Woman was developing that thing and all that, I was like, we're going to see some kind of battle or something here. And then all it was to tap into that, and steal it. And I was like, oh, okay.
It was cool. Well, I feel like I've been saying this. The show was just cool. The show was great. To see almost like the different iterations of the Imperial Army, because like we know stormtroopers, but then we saw like the policing units that went through the apartments and kind of were going to hunt down the Cassian and the crew that were there and their armor and everything. And then the riot guards that went out there to face the Gorman crowds. So it's been cool to kind of see, like, you'd expect with any army, they have like kind of like tiers of units of soldiers for specific tasks.
Yeah, it's neat seeing all the different.
So that was cool to see.
Going back to the earlier episodes of the season, seeing the range troopers again was
that was cool.
Was cool.
That was really cool.
And it was neat seeing Radis. I love Radis. And neat seeing him again and Draven and them guys. And then they mentioned Merrick and Donana were going to come back.
Yeah.
So it would have been kind of neat if they would have mentioned Red Leader and Gold Leader too.
That would have been cool.
Dutch and oh goodness, I forgot was Red Leader Garvin Dryce?
I I can't remember. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got.
It would have been kind of neat if they would have mentioned their names too. But it's neat getting the Dodonna and Merrick.
Yeah, Garvin Dries. Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that was really cool.
and I can't stand the two senators, the guy and the woman that were like pulley and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd let them go up and be Death Star fodder or something like that.
It's like, do you not understand what's happening?
Yeah, it's like, wow.
But like, how shocking of that information to be, and then like for a brief moment, it was only word of mouth. Lonnie got the information, went to Luthen, went to Clea, and then Clea was the only one left with the information, trying to spill it on the Cassian.
And I liked when she bumped into Luthen and he's telling her and she's trying to, Galen her so Jeddah and yeah, I like that. That was good. Oh, leading all that the Andor's contact on the Ring of Kafrine.
Oh yeah,
I'm sitting there thinking when they keep saying he's calling in. He only wants to meet with Cassian. He's probably thinking, I want to meet with Cassian and tell him what's going on. And then Cassian ends up taking him out. And it's like that poor guy. He's sitting there radio. I need Cassian. He's basically like, he's like basically, come on, send me this guy. And
he comes and kill him.
And then he kills him. So
poor guy.
But in a way, you think about now, it's kind of like a mercy killing, like Clea did with Luthen, because he had a broken arm and he wasn't going to climb out of there. And if he would have got captured, he would have got interrogated. And so I mean, I hate saying that, but in a way, Cassian kind of, by killing him, kind of spared him a little.
It stinks to happen, but in a way, yeah. Oh, I enjoyed, and it was nice because I forgot how he died in Rogue One, but when they brought in Melshi, I enjoyed the development of his character, and honestly, I forgot how he died in Rogue One. So when we watched Rogue One and he got shot and like succumbed to his injuries and stuff, I was like, oh man.
I would like to see a little bit more of him too.
Yeah.
But it's neat when Andor is walking and he goes past all those commandos running and training and stuff, and you saw Powell and
that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah. Did they ever? What was the other little dude that was in the U-wing firing on those walkers?
Oh.
What was his? Oh, I'm gonna hate myself. I can't remember his name.
Biston?
Biston, yeah.
Biston,
Did we see him?
Don't remember if we saw him because he was he one of the survivors from Saw's group from Jeddah after they blew up, or was he just a completely new character?
I think he was one of the. Did he walk when they was doing like showing the hangars and stuff on Yavin? Did he walk by?
I don't remember if he did or not. I'd have to rewatch that scene.
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Drad's gonna have to. Well, if you watch that one, you might as well start from the beginning and see if you missed anything else. Drats.
I guess in my, I go back in my mind to when I was a kid, and then after seeing this, like I was kind of mentioned before, seeing Yavin and all that. And when I was a kid, my mind wondering about all this stuff. Well, what, then now finally seeing it. It's one thing reading books and stuff, but like seeing the visual of it just...
It adds so much to it.
The nostalgia and everything of it just really...
That's really cool. We mentioned before it would have been cool to see a cameo from the Ghost Crew or anything like that. So that was... It wasn't something you needed.
Yeah, it would have been cool, but cool. I mean, I didn't miss it, but it would kind of, even if we saw the ghost just
hanging in Yavin, yeah.
And I liked, it would have been kind of neat to see like Vader or Tarkin in it, but I'm all right that they weren't in it.
Yeah,
and I like how. They weren't even in it, but they made them two even more villainous and intimidating and all that. Because you stop and think in this season how Krennic is. Just like evil and all that. And then when you watch Rogue One, he kind of cowers before those two. He's knocked off his horse. Like, he bullies these people, but then when it comes to this, and so Vader and Tarkin weren't even in it, and just how you developed Krennic. Side effect of that was you made Tarkin and Vader
so much bigger,
more intimidating and bad.
And that goes back to like that great writing and you didn't even need the others in there to strengthen them as characters, and that was cool to see. So something obviously needs to happen with the ISB, because obviously after these events, a lot of and heavy hitters like Partagaz is gone.
Yeah, and I liked how that was handled too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, for the most part, understaffed, you could say. Yeah. So I don't think they dissolve it, because I'm almost certain we hear from the ISB again. And I'm trying to remember, because it's been so long, but the Battlefront 2 campaign that they had when in the latest Battlefront 2 game, I'm almost certain those characters were part of the ISB. I'd have to look it up again. I'll put something down here whether they were or they weren't. I can't remember for sure. But I don't think they fully get rid of them. But I'm not sure.
We need to do a little comedy thing. Can you imagine the events that happened over those few days? Palpatine's sitting in his office and he gets a call. Sir, the ISB's falling apart. Partagaz is, failed and he's dead, and Marrows and we had to put her in prison, and was the Hurt was the guy.
I think Hurts.
He's dead, and the ISB's in shambles. And then, sir, the rebels have captured the Death Star plans. Scarif's destroyed. It's chaos. And he's probably like, this can't get any worse. Sir, I don't know how to tell you this, but the Death Star's been destroyed. Palpatine's probably like, what is going on here?
Because this all happens in a span of a week.
We need to do Palpatine here. What?
The poor Imperial sympathizers and the people of the planets, all their tax credits going to all these.
Sir, we don't know what happened to Lord Vader. His ship was last seen spinning through space. Vader, where you at? And then Vader comes stumbling in the office. He's all dizzy. He's like, that's spinning. That was a good trick.
That'd be a good bit.
This can't get any worse. I sent him for Palpatine. He starts shooting himself up. I can't handle it. Yeah, I wish. I know Gilroy said he's done in the Star Wars universe, but I hope. I want some of the more traditional Star Wars, but I hope somehow we get some more, stories like this.
Yeah.
A little more serious. I was just thinking off the top of my head how it'd be neat to see a series written like this, focusing on the development and stuff like that, with dealing with Jedi or Sith or something like. And I know people don't like Alkalite, and I know I'm one of the oddballs that if you had Gilroy writing the continuation of the Stranger story, imagine the development there, then bringing Palpatine into it, and then maybe Palpatine killing the Stranger and taking his place beside Plagueis aside, and then you could tie that back to Palpatine telling Luke to take your place, take your father's place. But imagine if you had some of those, really written, serious and stuff like that. Not that I want the fun adventure stuff too, but it'd be neat to touch.
It just helps lore building, and it builds it up, and it's a nice accent thing to have the fun adventure stuff, but to have these I don't know, it just works really well with the universe.
And then I think, boy, it would have been nice if Gilroy would have wrote the Boba Fett series.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that would have been great.
That would have been great. Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm not trashing it, but I can think of some of these other characters, and I go back to, like I said earlier, boy, I would like to. Boy, it makes you think, boy, if this was written this way, how I would like to see that and stuff. But
yeah, I guess we take what we got, but we can always imagine. Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he'll come back and visit again. Mm-hmm. But there you go. I keep going back to the like 1 or 2 episode things. Directing an episode or 2 of something doesn't take as much time as directing a whole series. You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
So that's why I wish they would do something like that, and just have them come back in and do an episode with Dedra. A 45-minute something or something like that, or Luthen when he was younger, or something like that.
That'd be cool, and I think that'd be something that they could do. But I guess we'll see. It would have been cool to see more of that, but I know since Tony Gilroy's not doing any more or he's done with Star Wars, and then hearing that Diego Luna, the actor who plays Cassian, originally I think they wanted like 5 seasons or something.
So, yeah, 5 or 7 or something like that.
And Diego wasn't. He loves playing the character, but that was such a big time commitment that he was like, he wasn't interested in making that big of a commitment for whatever personal reasons. And so, in a world where he did, would we have had Tony Gilroy for those whole 5 seasons? I don't know.
Yeah,
so I think it kind of played out pretty well to give us just a really nice product to just sit back and appreciate. So yeah. Alrighty. Anything else?
I think we touched. I mean, there's so much. I'm sure later we'll be like, oh, we should have. I guess we can always bring it up on the next one. But.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're getting ready to finish Underworld, Tales of the Underworld.
Yes, I have one last episode to watch at Tales of the Underworld, then we'll touch on that one, but that'll definitely be a next episode topic.
And like we was talking earlier, I still can't believe they haven't released that teaser trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu yet. I mean, unless they're waiting for San Diego Comic-Con or D23 or something, it's less than a year away. It seems like they would have gave us a little something by now.
Just a little more. I mean,
makes you wonder what's going on there.
I don't know. I don't know if they're kind of keeping it close to the hip, kind of like they did with what was it for Andor? They kind of kept the trailers kind of close to the hip because they weren't sure what the audience reception was going to be of it or something like that. Or they might be assuming that for all the people who didn't see the trailer, it's already been not seen enough.
Or maybe they think starving us is going to make us even more hungry
potentially
when it comes. So I hope it's good. I mean, I hope it's more like Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and a little not that 3 didn't have some good stuff in it, but I hope it's more 1 to 2-ish. But really, that's going to be a big deal how that does at the box office and stuff.
For sure.
On the future of Star Wars going forward.
Yeah, because it could shift it to be movies again, or they might just kind of retreat back and just keep doing TV shows.
And they're casting people for that Starfighter movie, so it looks like it's going to happen and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I hope it makes a rebound. I mean, the Andor season 2 was a great kind of rebound and stuff, but getting it heading in the right direction again. But I'm ready. Like I said, I love the seriousness of Andor and all that, but I'm ready for a kind of a fun, a fun traditional Star Wars adventure. If you want.
And I'm hoping they're able to provide something like that. Yeah. So as long as I walk out of the theater feeling like I had fun, I know there's people who didn't like Solo, but I have some nitpicks about too. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. And when I walked out of the theater, I was like, oh, God, I saw it. Same
so
here.
I'm hoping, Mandalorian Grogu's. I still don't like that title.
But I wish they could have. Yeah.
I hope when I leave that theater, I'm like, oh, it was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Did you ever figure out who the actress was cast for the Starfighter movie? Because Ryan Gosling's the main lead.
I forget. I'm not very good with current actors and actresses.
Let me see if I can find her real quick.
I know there was one actress that turned it down over money, and then
Mia Goth. Is that who?
Okay.
So one of the actresses cast in the upcoming Star Wars Starfighter movie, starring alongside Ryan Gosling, according to The Wrap and Sean Levy. Okay.
And then I heard something like the story's kind of like along the lines that Ryan Gosling's got like a nephew or something, and this girl's supposed to be the main villain, like she's after the nephew or something like that. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
It's set 5 years after the Rise of Skywalker, so that'll be interesting because this will be, well, goodness, this will be. Right? Am I tripping? This will be the first movie set after the sequels, or anything set after the sequels.
Mm-hmm, I think unless there's been some books or something like that. Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep an open mind on it. And see,
absolutely.
But we got the Maul animated series, which I hope they touch on. Crimson Dawn and stuff on that. Maybe give us a little more of that.
Yeah, I hope so
story
too.
And stuff. And then we got Mandalorian Grogu. Then we got Ahsoka season 2. And then we got the Star Force. So really, there's not a lot that we know of on the horizon that's coming. I mean, we don't know really anything definitive on any more, Disney Plus shows or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I know you hear them say they want to go back to more to the films and stuff like that, but when you have a show as good as Andor, I hope it makes them reconsider, at least do something every once. So.
Just a little something, because it's been fun having episodes to look forward to coming out in a week. So
yeah. So
I guess we'll see.
And we don't know when that Maul show's coming out.
Not that I don't think I've seen anything more on that, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I got high hopes for that. Then we kind of fill in some of those gaps there that are missing in some of those stories. So
yeah. Exciting stuff.
Yep.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for today's episode. If you liked it, be sure to show us by liking down below. And to stay up to date on all things happening Scruffy, be sure to give us a follow on Spotify as well as Instagram. And until next time, may the Force be with you.